Hey folks, this is Mike and it's time for another video review. In this case, I am reviewing The Possum issue 5 by Blair from Possum Press, and this is from 2011. And you can see this is a copy that's actually signed and has a little sketch on it by Blair. And this is an item that you can actually find on my eBay store or on my eBay page, available for sale to purchase. If it's still there by the time this is posted, who knows, but it might still be there. So in issue 5, we've got an introduction that, as noted, was originally published in 2006. And there's a brief description before about how it took Blair almost 5 years to complete this issue. So there was a bit of a gap in his schedule, as happens when you're an indie comic creator, especially if you get any success where you're actually doing some work for other publishing companies. You have to put your own personal projects on the back burner. But that's not what this is about. This is about the Possum himself. So I've always seen the style that he uses, the coloring and the dot pattern. I believe, I could be wrong, but to me it looks like he produces these in color and then converts them to black and white for print, which is a legitimate approach. I mean, black and white printing is incredibly more cost effective than color. So when you're producing an independent comic series on your own, that is usually an option that a creator will take, just because it's more affordable. And I love this intellectual property thing in the content catcher. I feel like this is somehow indicative of a lot of the AI stuff that's out now, and this is predating AI, but same idea, a big pig that's eating in intellectual property and shitting out content. Anyway, so you'll notice clearly this is an animated or a cartoony style comic. It's a humor comic, obviously. If you're not familiar with Blair's character, the Possum, his superpower is to appear dead. He can take a beating and stop his vital signs. And like in this example, where he's yelling at this robot. So I want to point out, for other independent artists or people who are learning, notice like storytelling is done with sound effects here. We don't need dialogue. He doesn't need to say anything. And there's lots of exaggeration, lots of emanata, showing speed and wetness, sloshing. And just one thing that I find Blair really good at is that kind of exaggerated posture and posing of the face and the body, especially with the possum's body, which is really skinny and lanky. And he's really good at squash and stretch, you know, with expressions and whatnot. So here's an example. Possum just got stomped on by this giant robot. And the robot scans him and he appears to be dead, but he gets right back up. And so the robot's got to open up with a larger arsenal. So clearly, very tongue-in-cheek, very funny, you know, superhero spoof. And then we have a cutscene where we're at a local comic shop and they're, you know, talking nerdy to each other and whatnot. But I want to point out, like, this is all hand-drawn with pen and ink, and just the expressions are really good. He's got a very solid line. And the shading is very well done. It gives you the feeling of a puffer coat, and you've got that, instead of a shade, it's more of a reflection on the edges of the sections of the coat. Very simplistic backgrounds, but that works with this style. It might look out of place if the characters were super highly detailed. And again, you can do a lot of the really extreme motion, things like water, lots of explosions, the running, you know, the possum always seems to be running away from danger. And, you know, you can see his course here. And again, there's a lot of that exaggeration, that really exaggerated body posture that is used in comic books, especially in kind of the slapstick style humor ones with, you know, some extreme squash and stretch. I just actually skipped a page there, but I also wanted to mention too, I've met Blair, other than just getting him to sign this. We've actually spoken a couple times. Really nice guy. It just so happened at one time, a friend of mine had their kids staying with me for the summer so they could attend a summer camp that was in my area. And just so happened that Blair's kids were also attending the same summer camp. So we used to run into each other sometimes, dropping off and picking up the kids, and we'd chat briefly as well. Whether he'd remember that, I don't know, but it was a few years ago in Hamilton. But here's another example of squash and stretch, where we can see all these different sort of things. And I wanted to mention, I personally do use a lot of CGI and CAD for my illustration now. I just find it a time saver. It's easier, but something, you know, everything's got its pros and its cons. I find even if you just use CGI for visual reference, that it can kind of help you build that base sketch step faster. But things like this are not easy with CGI. When you use real squash and stretch and distortion, I think CGI still struggles with that. It takes more work to kind of create these kind of poses, to the point where I feel like, at least for me, it loses its time-saving properties. So in this case, I find personally drawing this kind of stuff is faster than trying to use CGI for it. Anything that's got this real extreme cartooniness and expression, I find that CGI struggles with it because it's so much trying to mimic reality that it's hard to create something that is clearly not real and exaggerated visually to help tell the story. So and, you know, great character design, stereotypical old dude with a big bent nose and wrinkled. He's clearly somebody that's in charge. And again, you know, Possum ends up taking public transit. And I'm not going to show you the entire thing. There's actually another story in here too. But if you would like to see this for yourself, if you like what you see, and if you think, hey, this Possum comic looks cool and I'd like to check it out, or even own this signed copy, you can find it on my eBay store. And my eBay store is linked from my website at mikegagno.ca, which you will see the link for in the description of this video. Thanks for watching and taking time to hear my 2 cents on the Possum. You guys have a great day.